The champagne glass shattered against Italian marble, crystal fragments scattering like diamonds across the floor of the penthouse bathroom. Maya Sinclair stared at her reflection, designer dress, flawless makeup, the $50,000 anniversary necklace cold against her throat. Outside, 200 guests celebrated 5 years of her perfect marriage to tech mogul James Sinclair. Inside, she read the text messages on his unlocked phone for the third time, her hands trembling. Can't wait until she's out of the picture. The prenup lawyer confirmed. If she cheats, she gets nothing. Patience, baby. 6 more months of playing devoted husband. Then we'll have it all. The sender? Vivian Ross, Maya's former best friend, her maid of honor, the woman she'd trusted with every secret, every fear, every vulnerability. Her mind flashed back through 5 years of calculated manipulation. James's sudden interest in her after she'd inherited her father's estate, the whirlwind romance, the prenup she'd signed, blinded by what she thought was love. Vivian's constant presence, always encouraging, always supportive, always there with James. Maya's reflection blurred as tears threatened, but she blinked them back. Crying was weakness. Weakness was what they expected, what they'd counted on. She picked up a crystal shard, watching light refract through it. Sharp, precise, deadly if wielded correctly. A slow smile crossed her face, one her husband had never seen before. If they wanted to play games, she'd teach them how a real player operates. The party downstairs was a symphony of lies. Maya descended the spiral staircase, her smile practiced and perfect, her hand resting on the banister as guests turned to admire her. James stood by the bar, charming investors, his hand reaching for her automatically as she approached. "There's my beautiful wife," he said, pulling her close. The kiss on her cheek felt like poison. "Darling," she murmured, her voice honey-sweet. "Such a perfect evening." Vivian appeared from the crowd, red lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Maya, you look absolutely stunning. Marriage definitely agrees with you." "It does," Maya said, meeting her gaze directly. "I'm the luckiest woman alive." Something flickered across Vivian's face. Confusion, perhaps? They'd expected her to suspect nothing, to remain the naive, trusting fool they'd been manipulating for years. Maya excused herself to mingle, her mind already 3 steps ahead. She'd spent 5 years building a reputation as the perfect wife. Devoted, trusting, slightly naive. Sweet Maya, who organized charity galas and never questioned her husband's late nights. Maya, who'd introduced her husband to all her father's business connections, essentially funding his tech empire's expansion. That reputation would be her greatest weapon. Over the next hour, she played her role flawlessly. She laughed at investors' jokes. She touched James's arm adoringly when he told stories. She complimented Vivian's dress and suggested they have lunch next week. And she activated the keystroke logger she'd installed on James's laptop 3 months ago. Right after noticing the first suspicious text deletion, because sweet, naive Maya, that was always a performance. The real Maya had grown up watching her father navigate ruthless corporate takeovers. She'd learned to code at 12, to read people at 15, to weaponize trust at 20. When she'd fallen for James, she genuinely believed in their love. But she'd still protected herself. Backup plans layered beneath backup plans. She just hadn't expected to need them. The party ended at midnight. James was drunk, amorous, whispering promises against her neck as they stumbled to the bedroom. Maya endured his touch, her mind calculating, planning, perfecting. "I love you so much," he slurred. "You're everything to me." "I know," she whispered back. "I know exactly what I am to you." He passed out within minutes. Maya waited until his breathing deepened, then slipped from the bed and returned to his phone. The affair had been going on for 18 months. The plan to frame her for adultery and take her inheritance had been in motion for 6 months. They'd been thorough. Paper trails, stage photographs, witness testimonies ready to go. They'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated her. Maya transferred every text, every email, every incriminating photo to her secured cloud storage. Then she began building her counter-narrative. each piece placed with surgical precision. The next morning, Maya initiated phase 1. She arrived at her lawyer's office, not the family attorney James knew about, but Marcus Chen, a ruthless litigation specialist she'd retained privately 2 years ago, just in case. "I need an ironclad post-nuptial agreement," she told him, sliding a folder across his desk. "And I need James to sign it willingly." Marcus reviewed the documents, his expression carefully neutral. "This essentially reverses your prenup. If he signs this, cheating protects you, not him. He'll never agree." "He will," Maya said calmly, "because I'm going to convince him I'm about to inherit another fortune from my late uncle's estate. And I'm going to make him believe that signing this proves I trust him completely. Do you have an uncle's estate?" "I have a lawyer friend in London who's very good at creating convincing paperwork." Maya's smile was cold. "James won't verify. He's too arrogant to think I'm capable of deception." Marcus leaned back. "You're playing a dangerous game, Mrs. Sinclair." "They started it," she said softly. "I'm just playing to win." Over the next 3 weeks, Maya became the most devoted wife she'd ever been. She surprised James with his favorite meals. She initiated intimacy. She laughed at his jokes and gazed at him adoringly at business dinners. She also carefully planted evidence of her fictional inheritance. A call from London that she took in another room, emerging with excitement. Legal documents left strategically on her desk. A conversation with her accountant about estate management that James accidentally overheard. She watched him take the bait, his eyes gleaming with greed. "Sweetheart," he said one evening, pulling her onto his lap. "I've been thinking. That prenup we signed, it was necessary then, but now, it feels wrong. Like I don't trust you completely." Maya's heart hammered, but her face showed only surprise. "James, you don't have to." "I want to." He cupped her face, his performance as flawless as hers. "I want to prove to you that I'm in this forever. Let's sign a new agreement, one that protects you completely." She let tears fill her eyes. "You really mean that?" "Every word." He signed the post-nuptial agreement 3 days later, barely reading it, too focused on the fake inheritance documents she left nearby. Marcus Chen witnessed it, his expression carefully professional. Maya Sinclair now owned everything. With the legal foundation secured, Maya moved to phase 2. Documentation. She began having lunch with Vivian weekly, always at the same upscale restaurant, always at the same corner table, the one with the perfect view of the entrance, the one where her private investigator could photograph every interaction. "You seem different lately," Vivian said one afternoon, stabbing her salad with unnecessary force. "Happier." "I am," Maya said warmly. "James and I are in such a good place. I feel like I finally have the marriage I always dreamed of." Vivian's smile tightened. "That's wonderful." "I know we used to talk about everything," Maya continued, her voice dropping to a confidential whisper. "But lately I feel like there's distance between us. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Vivian said quickly. Too quickly. "Good, because you're my best friend, Viv. I don't know what I'd do without you." Maya reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Promise me we'll always be honest with each other?" Vivian's composure cracked just slightly. Guilt, maybe? Or frustration that Maya remained so perfectly, obliviously trusting. "Of course," Vivian said, "always." That evening, Maya reviewed the photographs her investigator had taken. Vivian meeting James at his business dinners, the hotel they frequented, the apartment he'd rented under a shell company, one Maya now owned, thanks to the new post-nuptial agreement and some creative legal maneuvering. She'd also installed cameras throughout the apartment. Every encounter, every whispered promise, every moment of their betrayal was now documented in crystal clear 4K. But documentation alone wasn't enough. Maya needed them to reveal their plan completely, on record, undeniably. She began complaining to Vivian about a handsome new client at her charity foundation. A man who'd been very attentive and made her feel desired in ways James hadn't in years. "Be careful," Vivian said, her eyes gleaming. "You wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize your marriage." "You're right," Maya sighed. "It's just Sometimes I wonder if James really loves me, or if he just loves what I brought to the marriage. My father's connections, my inheritance. Oh, honey, Vivian cooed, but Maya could see the calculations behind her eyes. James adores you. Maya also began telling James about her concerns about Vivian. She's been acting strange, Maya said one night. Almost competitive? Like she's jealous of what we have. You're imagining things, James said too quickly. Vivian's your best friend. She'd never. Never what? Maya asked innocently. Never want anything but your happiness, he finished lamely. She let it drop. But she'd planted the seed. If anything went wrong with their plan, they'd start turning on each other. At night, alone in her home office while James slept, Maya built her case. Every financial record, every text, every photograph, every witness statement from employees who'd seen James and Vivian together. She also began reaching out to James's business partners and investors, the ones her father's connections had introduced him to, casual conversations about succession planning and what would happen to the company if something happened to James. She was establishing herself as the true power behind his empire, because she was. 3 months after the anniversary party, Maya received an anonymous email containing photographs of her having an affair. They were expertly photoshopped images of her with a male model in compromising positions. Metadata carefully altered to appear authentic. James's endgame had begun. She printed them, hands steady, and waited. James came home early that day, Vivian with him. Both wore expressions of exaggerated concern. Maya, we need to talk, James said, his voice heavy with false sympathy. What's wrong? Maya asked, performing confusion perfectly. Someone sent me these. He spread the photographs across their dining table. I don't want to believe it, but... Maya stared at the images, then at him, letting her expression crumble. Those aren't real. James, you know they aren't real. The metadata can be faked. Her voice rose, panic creeping in. Real panic, because even knowing this was coming, the betrayal still cut deep. You know me. You know I would never... I want to believe you, James said, but his eyes were cold, calculating. But the prenup is very clear about adultery. There it was, the trap closing. Prenup, Maya whispered. We signed a new agreement, one that post-nup was signed under false pretenses, Vivian interjected smoothly. The inheritance you claim was coming, James had it investigated. It doesn't exist, Maya, which means you committed fraud to get him to sign that agreement. It's invalid. Maya let her knees buckle, sinking into a chair. No, this isn't happening. I'm sorry, James said, not sounding sorry at all. But I want a divorce, and under the original prenup terms, I get nothing, Maya finished, her voice hollow. Everything I inherited from my father, everything I built, it all stays with you. I'll be fair, James said magnanimously. I'll make sure you have enough to start over. A small settlement. Maya looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. How long? What? How long have you been planning this? She turned to Vivian. How long have you been sleeping with my husband? Vivian had the grace to look uncomfortable. Maya, don't. Maya stood, her voice breaking. Just don't. She ran upstairs, locked herself in the bedroom, and let them hear her sob. In reality, she was smiling. They just confessed to conspiracy to commit fraud, on camera in her home, which was equipped with voice-activated recording in every room. Maya played the devastated wife for exactly 3 days. She hired the lawyer James expected her to hire, a mediocre family attorney who'd agree to whatever settlement James proposed. She signed preliminary divorce papers. She moved out of the penthouse and into a modest apartment. She let James and Vivian believe they'd won. Then on day 4, she went to war. Marcus Chen filed a lawsuit that made national headlines. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted theft, and a dozen other charges. Every text message, every photograph, every recorded conversation. The fake photographs exposed as digital manipulation with expert testimony from 3 independent forensic analysts. The post-nuptial agreement was ruled valid. James's investigation into the fake inheritance was proven to be cursory at best, and his signature legally binding. But Maya went further. She held a press conference, her father's former PR team by her side. She'd carefully cultivated her public image for 5 years as a devoted wife and philanthropist. Now she used every ounce of that goodwill. "I'm married for love," she said, her voice steady, her eyes fierce. "I trusted my husband with my heart, my fortune, and my future. I trusted my best friend with my secrets and my vulnerability. They weaponized that trust. They spent years plotting to destroy me and steal everything I'd worked for." The footage went viral. The text messages, released in carefully redacted form, trended on social media. James's tech company, built largely on connections and funding Maya had provided, saw its stock plummet. Investors jumped ship. Business partners distanced themselves. The board of directors voted to remove James as CEO. Maya bought controlling interest in the company at bankruptcy prices, using funds she'd carefully moved into protected trusts years ago. She fired James personally, in front of the entire staff, the same staff who'd watched him parade Vivian through the office for months, believing Maya was too naive to notice. But the professional destruction wasn't enough. Maya wanted them to feel what she'd felt. She released a limited podcast series, The Perfect Lie, where she detailed the entire manipulation with her lawyer's approval. Every episode ended with the same question: how well do you really know the people you trust? It became the #1 podcast globally within 2 weeks. James and Vivian's names became synonymous with betrayal. They couldn't go anywhere without being recognized, confronted, photographed. Their own relationship imploded under the pressure. Turns out there's no honor among co-conspirators when the plan falls apart. Vivian tried to claim she'd been manipulated by James. James claimed Vivian had seduced him. They turned on each other exactly as Maya had predicted, each trying to save themselves. Neither succeeded. 6 months after the divorce, Maya stood in her father's old office, now hers, looking out over the city. She'd rebuilt his company into something even more powerful. She'd launched a foundation to help victims of financial fraud and manipulation. She'd won, but victory tasted like ashes some days. Her assistant knocked. "Ms. Sinclair, your 4 o'clock is here." Maya turned. "Send him in." Dr. David Chen, Marcus's brother and a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma, entered with a warm smile. She'd been seeing him weekly, working through the complicated grief of loving someone who'd never truly existed. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Vindicated," Maya said. "Exhausted, angry, sad." She paused. "Free." "All valid," David said. "Revenge and justice aren't the same thing, but sometimes they overlap. You protected yourself and countless future victims by exposing them. That matters." "I know." Maya sat down. "I just wonder sometimes if I'm becoming like them. If all this calculation, this manipulation—" "You used deception to expose deception," David interrupted gently. "That's different from using it to destroy an innocent person. You protected yourself. That's not villainy. That's survival." 1 year after her anniversary party, Maya hosted another celebration. This time it was the launch of her new initiative, the Sinclair Foundation's Betrayal Recovery Program, offering legal, financial, and psychological support to people targeted by romantic and financial manipulation. The ballroom was full of survivors, people who'd been where she'd been, people she could help. Marcus Chen raised his glass. "To Maya Sinclair, a woman who turned betrayal into purpose." The room erupted in applause. Later that evening, Maya stood on her penthouse balcony. She'd bought back the apartment and completely remodeled it, erasing every trace of James. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. James Sinclair arrested for securities fraud. Apparently, his desperation for money had led him to illegal activities. Vivian Ross named as an accomplice. Maya didn't smile. She simply deleted the notification. She'd moved on. David Chen found her on the balcony. Over the past year, their therapeutic relationship had slowly, carefully evolved into friendship. Then recently into something more. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm good," Maya said, and meant it. "They're facing serious charges," David said. 5 to 10 years, possibly. "I know," Maya turned to him. "I could feel satisfaction. but mostly I just feel done. They can't hurt anyone else now. That's what matters. David wrapped an arm around her shoulders. For what it's worth, I think you're remarkable. Not because of the revenge, because of what you built after. Maya leaned into him. I loved him, you know. The man I thought he was. I loved him completely. I know. And part of me hates that I had to become calculating to survive, that I had to play games and manipulate and scheme. You used their weapons against them, David said, but you didn't become them. You know the difference? They destroyed for greed. You fought back for survival. And then you built something that helps others. That's the difference between revenge and justice. 2 years later, Maya stood at a podium accepting a humanitarian award for her foundation's work. The ballroom was different. The crowd was different. But the moment felt like symmetry. Full circle from the anniversary party where everything shattered. Except now she was whole again. Different, harder in some ways, but authentically herself. People ask me if I regret marrying James Sinclair, she said into the microphone. The honest answer is complicated. I regret the betrayal. I regret the pain. But I don't regret what I learned about my own strength. She paused, looking out at hundreds of faces. They tried to break me. Instead, they revealed exactly how unbreakable I am. And if you're watching this, surviving your own betrayal, know this. You are not weak for loving someone who didn't deserve it. You are not naive for trusting. You are not stupid for being kind. Her voice strengthened. You are strong for surviving. You are powerful for rebuilding. And you are worthy of a love that doesn't require you to diminish yourself to receive it. The applause was deafening. Later, in the quiet of her apartment, David pulled her close. I'm proud of you, he whispered. For what? For choosing healing over bitterness. For turning pain into purpose. He kissed her forehead. For letting yourself love again, even after everything. Maya smiled. A real smile. Warm and genuine, and nothing like the calculated ones she'd worn during her marriage. They tried to teach me that love was a weapon, she said softly, but I learned something better. Love is a choice, and I choose to love myself enough to never settle for anything less than real again. That, David said, is the best revenge of all. 5 years after the anniversary party, Maya Sinclair's foundation had helped over 10,000 people escape and recover from manipulative relationships. James and Vivian had served their sentences and disappeared into obscurity. And Maya? She married David in a small ceremony surrounded by people who actually loved her. No performance, no manipulation, no games. Just honest, imperfect, real love. She'd learned that the opposite of betrayal isn't revenge. It's trust, rebuilt carefully, with someone who actually deserves it. And living well, living authentically, powerfully, joyfully, isn't just the best revenge. It's the only one that truly matters. The deepest wounds don't always come from enemies. Sometimes they come from the people we love most. But healing isn't about forgetting. It's about building something so beautiful from the broken pieces that you thank yourself for surviving.